Today we're working with the judge, and this is the card from Carolyn Mace's deck, Balancing Justice and Compassion. But I wanted to bring in this new resource that I've come across, the Spirit of Archetypes, Cards of Spiritual Guidance by Roy Solberg. And this is the judge card that she has. And the judge brings in discernment is really what the judge is about. And I worked with some hopefully bleeding tissue paper. I put this on paper, but I also put it on fabric. I love the one on the paper, but I really love the fabric. So I'm going to work with it, and I'll just provide another layer and do a little bit of this. So I have this tissue paper. The problem is I don't exactly know which of the tissue paper I have bleeds and which doesn't. So it leaves me a little bit at a loss. But I think regardless, I can have some fun with this. Then all I'm going to do is spray some water. This is spritz can, labeled water. Here we have it. Let it sit there for a couple of minutes and do its magic. So I think of the artist who embodies the judge, that the artist studio is really the courtroom. And it's in the courtroom that the judge has the say. The judge weighs the pros and cons. That's what the whole idea of the Lady of Justice is. And I'll show her in a couple minutes because I think I'm going to use her. So as you can see, like if I were to lift this up here, you can see that's leaving a nice black mark. I think I'm just going to move it to a different part. And let's see if it'll do a little bit more magic over here. Okay, this is the piece that I've completed with the tissue paper. I put the hair dryer to it and then I ran it under the iron. But because the judge sees things from all sides, I'm going to look at it from both sides. This side seems a little lighter, and I actually think I prefer that side. Now, what I'm going to do is I have printed out Lady Justice from Canva. I'm going to trace her with this marker and then put her in front of the window, and then the fabric on top, and trace her onto the fabric, and then we're going to see what happens. So we're going to continue with our exploration of the justice. Also know that the judge doesn't have to make someone else wrong, even if they believe that they're right. The judge really can hear all sides of it. When you're judging something as in good or bad, you're not at a high enough spiritual level. So the judge deliberates, weighs the pros and cons, is a very good observer, takes in all the information, looks at it unbiasedly, and is going to make decisions for the good of all, not based on one person. In the shadow, the judge is unmerciful, out for himself, bends the rules, is very constrictive, condemns people. There's a hierarchy of value, takes away the opportunity that others might be presented with if the judge was more in the light. It's very constrictive, but in the light, the judge is in the wisdom category and weighs the facts, is in search of the truth, acts from compassion, and it really lives in the present moment, because the past is the past, the future hasn't happened yet, and the judge wants to really be in that current moment. And discernment means what's the next best choice. It's not a judgment, not a good or a bad, or black and a white. The judge will see all shades of gray and being willing to make the best choice. So I used a Posca marker for the outline, and then I was using this for the scales because I really felt that when we see a judge, it's all rise for the Almighty. It's the Almighty justice, the truth. So the truth, I think, deserves to be in gold. But that pen gave me problems, so I'm going to try a different one. And this is the Faber-Castell versus the liquid gold. Okay, so let's see what this comes out to be. Oh, much nicer. In the artwork, the judge will rely somewhat on the precedent of her prior work. And then I can take the Factus eraser and erase some of these lines. I think I'm gonna let her go for now. I might come in with something behind. Yes, I do think she needs a little something behind her. So I think a rubbing would be the best and the quickest, because these are only meant to be sketches. You know what though? I really like this sword, kind of a rose gold sword. I've forgotten the symbolism of the sword for Lady Justice, but know that all of the icons and symbols came from somewhere and do have a meaning and could lend more information as to how to interpret the archetype. Okay, here's a rubbing that I made out of compound, like a caulking compound. And what I like about the idea of using this rubbing is that I can really direct where I want it to go. Oh, it's giving her a much grander feel, doesn't it? So the judge making art with every brush stroke and every chip at the clay or the marble, she makes with the discernment. Think of it like Michelangelo, that she allows the artwork to be revealed. And for some reason, I'm wanting purple in here, so we're gonna go for that. She's also governed by laws, like I was looking at where the light would be. So those laws could be the principles of art, but it could also be the rule book that she's created and that she abides by in making her art. So she might create balanced compositions. She might use lines that are vertical or horizontal versus diagonal, because that's going to create more order. She lives in the present moment. And she asks the viewer to consider deeper implications of justice, decision-making, and morality. And she makes her decisions coming from compassion. These are the Derwent Intense blocks. And I don't want it to run all over, so I'm gonna shave a little bit of this, add a spritz of my water. Come in here with my brush. I might want to take a look at where some of the lights and darks are. But again, these are meant to be sketches where I'm really taking a look at the archetype relative to the art in terms of what the archetype brings to the art making process. Yep, that's it. All rise. Here comes the judge.